All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's just a taste of what's coming. We're so excited in 2024 to be releasing so many cool new things and also just some fun videos. We're looking also to make some of those educational and different things for the industry as well. So, just stay tuned if you don't mind. If you jump on our maybe our Facebook for sure, YouTube, Instagram, and maybe TikTok, all of that would be fun. But I want to talk today about sales. All of you guys are salespeople and you're selling your business. Just a little small history for me. I was a sales manager, a district sales manager for a company called Fastenal. It's a Fortune 500 company. It is one of the top, by volume, industrial supply companies in the world and North America. And in my opinion, it is by far the best industrial supply company in America. I was there over 17 years and I ran the Dallas market for 11. So in my time, I did so much, sales, and I trained so many salespeople. And the one thing that I find is that a salesperson that doesn't believe in themselves or doesn't believe in their company will never be successful. So if you guys want to land big events, if you want to grow your business, the first thing you need to do is you need to believe in yourself, and you need to be able to sell yourself, and you need to be able to believe in your business. So we want to talk first about why, if you believe in yourself, you'll be given the opportunity. So we first want to talk about why maybe sometimes people don't believe in themselves. What are the hidden insecurities that people have that maybe they don't believe in themselves or they don't believe in their business? But one insecurity that a lot of companies have is they say that they're too small. And honestly, if you're sitting in this room today, this can both be a very inspirational place to be, to see like, oh man, look at this place. Like we could get to this, or we could get to a half of this, or we could do this. It's inspirational, but at the same time, it also puts you into perspective. Like you may go out and say, how could I ever compete on a bid with Bouncehouse Atlanta when they're there and I'm only here? I only have 10 units or 15 units or 20 units, right? So being too small may be something that you might be insecure about your company, but we're going to go into it further, but being small has a lot of advantages, and we're going to talk about those in a few slides from now. But so don't just because you're not where you want to be doesn't mean that you're not going to get there, right? And so don't be thinking about your size versus everybody else. Think about your size versus where you were just a little while ago or where you want to be. Plus, we're going to talk about the advantages of being small in a bit. Another thing that I think that people sometimes do, and I've seen salespeople, they resonate on this, is they think about past failures. For many of you, this isn't your first business. Maybe you've done another business and it didn't work out right. Personally, when I was in my early 20s, I tried a number of businesses. And you know what? I never lost real bad, but I never made money. It was never super successful. We paid the bills and whatnot. And then I ended up in a corporate job, and I kind of pushed down my desire to be an entrepreneur for quite a while. And I was very happy, and I was very successful, and I did very well. But when this opportunity to jump back into the entrepreneurial thing hit me again, oh my goodness, that passion came. But if I would have just dwelled on those couple different businesses that I tried in my early 20s where you couldn't call them a success, I probably would have held myself back, right? And I wouldn't have had that confidence. So Joe and I were talking about this yesterday. In the NFL, there's this concept. It's called snap and clear. Okay, so if you're a cornerback in the NFL or even a quarterback in the NFL, and the very last play, what happened was you're a cornerback, you just got burned for a 40-yard touchdown. Or you're a quarterback and the last time you had the ball, you just threw an interception, right? You just did those things. If you let that thing dwell in your head, what's going to happen the next snap? You might do it again. You might be afraid to throw the ball. You might be afraid to get burned, so you stay back too far. Now they catch a 20-yard pass right in front of you. So as soon as that snap is over, you got to clear your mind. All right, so if you go out on a sales call trying to sell a business and you just bomb that thing, you got to immediately clear that from your mind and get ready. If you had a past failure, you got to immediately clear your mind and get ready for the next thing. You got to believe in yourself and you got to stay motivated. Sales are a numbers game. You just got to keep talking to people. So don't let past failures hold you back. A lot of people will say, and I saw this all the time in Fastenal, they weren't ready to be salespeople because they said, well, I don't know the product. I need product knowledge. Lack of knowledge holds people back. okay? You probably don't know how to go do a 35, well, some of you would do, but some of you don't. You probably don't know how to put on a $35,000 event next week, okay? But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go out there and pretend that you do and go strong. I promise you, you're smart enough, you're driven enough, you're capable, and you're able to figure it out between now and the time that event occurs, okay? The other thing is, and you have, now that you've met all these people, you have resources to help you through that process, right? Another thing is, you don't have to have every answer for every question in the sales call in that moment, okay? And so often people are like, man, I don't want to get myself into that conversation because I'm going to be asked a question and I don't have the answer. People will, they work with you. You just say, listen, I don't know that exactly, but I'll tell you what, I'll have the bid to you tomorrow, and when I have that bid to you, I will have that information for you. We will tell you how we're going to go about doing that, and we will tell you how it's safe or how it's, whatever those details are. Then you go home and you figure it out. You figure it out. You hit up some resources. You call somebody who's done events like that before. You read on the internet. You go into the Facebook groups. You do all these things. You figure it out. And you come back to that customer with a solid answer. So in sales, 100%, a solid salespeople, I would tell them all the time, like, we do not have time for you to know everything about every fastener, widget, all that sort of stuff. You have to believe in yourself. You have to go out there, fake it till you make it, but in the right way. You know what I mean? So don't let that be a holdup. And then competition. We're going to spend a little bit of time about talking about competition, but here's the thing. You are your only competition. Once you're in front of that customer, they are not really thinking about everybody else. I mean, I'm sure there's bids where they have to take multiple bids, but most of the time, if you're working like a big church event or you're working a school event, like the PTA isn't interviewing 15 companies. You go in there with confidence. Don't worry about Bouncehouse Atlanta, right? Just worry about what you have. Often, I think, at least when I was doing different events, what I remembered not very often was they didn't come in and say, hey, I want, and then start naming off slides. Like, you know the names of these slides, but they don't know the names of the slides. They just like, we want 5 inflatables and, and they may say something like, we want a dunk tank or a mechanical bull or something like that, but they're very generic. So don't worry about your competition. Sell up what you have. Whatever those 5 of your best items are, sell those 5 items, right? And if they do want, say, hey, a dunk tank or a mechanical bull or something like that, you can always work with somebody in your area to lease it from them, rent it from them, do it, help it. So don't be like, oh, shoot, they want a mechanical bull. I could handle 90% of this job, but I can't handle 100% of this job, so I'm just going to turn the whole job down or I'm going to back away. Figure out that 10%. Even if you have to rely on somebody else. I hope that makes sense. All right, so I'm stealing this from Jana. Jana, you sent this out the other day and I just loved it, okay? So from a motivational standpoint, as you're thinking about yourself versus your competition and where they are, right? So a lot of times when you have competition, you think, oh man, they're doing $2 million and they have all these things and I don't have them, right? So I can't compete. That's just not true. They're just at a different point in their journey than you are. And you don't know what it took for them to get to that point in their journey, right? So on a day-to-day basis, it's going to feel like this. There's lots of up and downs. There's lots of step forward, 2 steps back, right? There's a lot of that going on a day-to-day basis. And even the big guys feel like this too. It just feels differently. But if you start looking back at it over months, those ups and downs have kind of leveled out and you're still kind of moving forward. Right? But then in years, if you're doing this right, you're going to see steady increase over a period of time. And what happens is some point along the next couple years, you're going to just figure this thing out. And that's when the exponential growth goes in. And this is how your journey in life and in business really should be. On a day-to-day basis, sometimes it just sucks. Sometimes it's stressful, okay? But then you're going to get the victories and the wins too. Over a course of months, those wins are going to start to stack. Your business is going to snowball. You're going to have more and more repeat business. You're going to land that school job that becomes 2 school jobs in the fall and then 2 more in the next year. And then they're going to move on and they're going to tell their friends and you're going to get more. Like, you can and will do that. But you got to get through, and you can't look always at just the day-to-day. You got to look at, where am I going over the course of the next 5 years? You got to have that outlook. If you do, you're going to hit that curve at some point, and you're just going to see massive growth. And that growth may or may not be financially. It may just be that the business gets easier. It may just be that the business gets more profitable. It may just be that you have better quality of life once you get through. So the good stuff is down the road in the journey. But if you know that that's coming, you can appreciate what you have on a day-to-day basis. Okay. I hope I'm not moving too fast, but this is a concept that I've taught a bunch of people when I worked at Fastenal, and I felt like it was appropriate here, and I hope that it motivates you in some sort of way, okay? So does anybody know what the rule of 72 is? Has anybody ever heard this before? Nope? Okay, cool. It is an investing term, okay? And I'm going to use it a little bit about investing, but I'm going to primarily use it in a way to motivate you with your business. It is an investing term. And this is what the rule of 72. It's a mathematic formula that it says, based on how much, it helps you determine how much time it will take for your money to double, okay? How much time will your money to double? So let's say that you have let's say that you're 23 years old and you have $10,000. That's, okay, let's say you have $1,000. You're 23, let's be serious. Okay, let's say you're 23-year-old, you have $1,000 and you put it into a checking account or a savings account or a mutual fund or something like that, and you're going to get interest on it. If you get 10% interest, we're going to use that because it's an easy number. This formula tells you you take 10%, you divide it into 72, it's going to take your money 7.2 years to double. That's what this formula says. If you got 12%, it's going to take 6 years. If you got 1%, it's going to take 72 years. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So, the really powerful thing about compound interest is not the immediate growth, okay? So, we're 23 years old, all right? We have $1,000. We've now turned 24. We've been getting 10% interest. Now we have $1,100. Okay, big deal, all right? Now we turn 25. Because the money didn't just grow on the 1,000, but it grew on the 1,100, the next year we get $110 more. Now we're at $1,210. Okay, 7 years later, our $1,000 is $2,000. It's just still not that exciting or sexy, okay? So we're 30 years old, we got $2,000. But now we're 37 and we got $4,000. Okay, it's getting a little bit better. Now we're 44 and we've got $8,000. Now we're 51 and we got $16,000. Now we're 58, we got $32,000. Now we're 65 and we got $64,000. Okay, so 1,000 became 64,000 based on that 6 doublings. Does that make sense? You following me so far? I'm getting somewhere, I promise. Okay, here's the magic though. It's the future doublings that pay off. Okay, so in your business, I challenge you to leave. This is the fun part. Here's kind of a little chart. But I challenge you to leave your business 0.5% better every single day that you work. Let's say you work 5 days a week. Let's be honest, you work more than that. But you work 5 days a week. So I'm asking you to make your business 2.5% better each week. Something like 12% better each month. Okay? If you do that, your business will be 100% better every year. All right? So I used to challenge my people every day. Can you go into the store and make your business 0.5% better today than it was yesterday? Well, what does that mean? Well, I don't know. What do you need to do? Maybe it's cleaning the store. Maybe it's doing this. Maybe it's doing that. Maybe it's making more sales calls. When you take it down to like, you just need to be 1/2% better every single day, and you can see your business double and grow. But the magical part is, it's not that today you're going to go, from 1,000 to 1,100. The magic part is when you've been doing this for a period of time, that 0.5% every day adds up, and you start seeing those magical differences between 16,000 and 32,000, 32,000 and 64,000. Does that make sense? It's all about compounding your efforts and your energies on a day-to-day basis and staying consistent about it to see where that curve in that last graph starts to just explode. They always tell you and I'm not trying to be a financial advisor here, but if you aren't investing in your retirement, start today, because that 23-year-old, if they would have just waited till they were 30, which seems realistic, they would have lost $32,000, right? If they waited till they were 37, then that thousand only goes to 16. Becomes really hard to retire, right? So it's all about getting in it early. Same thing with business. If you're investing in your business early, it's going to compound so much in the end. So make it a point. Like if you can, I always did. I was like motivating my people with like run around telling everybody in the branch, we have to be, I was using 1% at the time, but 1% better today than yesterday. And then we have to retain it. And then 1% better the next day. Can you do that? New manager, can you motivate your team to be 1% better every single day? And we saw great success that way. All right, we're going to switch from what are your insecurities? So we talked about your insecurities. Your insecurities is, maybe we're too small. Maybe we don't have product knowledge. Maybe we've had past failures, and maybe the competition is too big. So let's transition for just a minute and let's talk about the advantages of maybe being on the smaller side or the newer side. So first off, you got youthful enthusiasm. Okay, what I mean by youthful enthusiasm is when you are young, or when you are naive, or when you're fresh into the business, you are so excited about the business and you don't know where all the pitfalls are. And often not knowing where all the pitfalls are will actually help you move faster. Bigger companies do get stuck saying like, this didn't work before. My scenario for that at Fastenal was so often over the years, we would have a general manager that would be in the market and would be an amazing salesperson, had amazing skills, and they would do really good for a while, and then they'd start to peter off, and then their attitude would change, and eventually I'd be like, man, kind of what's going on? Oh, my market sucks. There's no opportunities here anymore. Like, what are you talking about? What about this big factory? Oh, I called on them. They wouldn't let me in there. Well, what about that huge thing? Oh, well, we're not going to get in there till somebody dies, or blah, blah. They go to this negative point, right? And then they're basically useless. They would be looking at somebody else's market. Oh, but that market over there, that one's fantastic. Well, sometimes you got to swap those people around, or you got to bring in somebody just brand new with fresh, youthful perspective. And every single time that would happen, you know what would happen? We'd get a sales bump almost right away. Why? That new person didn't have those blinders on anymore and didn't just see these as dead ends anymore. They started knocking on doors that had been dead ends in the past, but something had changed, or they made a better interaction. And just because they got so used to their market, that old people lost the perspective. And I bet you that you have competition in your market today that has gotten that way. They've gotten stagnant. They're not looking anymore. They're not knocking on doors that you, with a new perspective, not knowing, with a youthful perspective, could go in there and capture some new business that these guys are overlooking, for sure. Another thing is when you're starting out, you have both the willingness and the ability to take risks. Large companies don't pivot fast. Large companies can't move in any directions. They're not agile. But small companies can. Small companies can take risks. And typically, it's not going to hurt anybody other than maybe yourself. And so you can do it. You can really move a lot faster when you're a smaller business. The other thing is when you're small, you have time. I don't know if Robert's in here anymore, but I promise you, Robert doesn't have time to be calling on some accounts that you guys would be if you were in this area, or potential businesses. I'm not saying that you have all the time in the world. I'm sure you're still working. Some of you are still working a regular job. I'm sure some of you have kids. I have 5. I'm sure you have sports. You have all these things. I'm not saying that your time is endless. I'm just saying that you're not burdened and bogged down by all the restraints that a large business already has. So when you are that smaller company, you are able to put the time in to continue to do it. You're able to really just stop and think at night and say, hey, how can I creatively come up with a pivot or a thing to move fast into, this next step of our business. Also, this is the coolest part, and I'm in that, so take advantage of it. Big and Bright Inflatables is in this step. I am still small enough that I have the ability to do service related things for you that I will not be able to when I'm a bigger company. 5 years from now, you're going to call up and it's going to be hard to get a hold of me and get 45 minutes of my time because I'm not going to be able to, I can't be me 10 times. I can't scale. So when you're on the smaller side, you can do things for customers that the big companies are just going to say no, or they're going to throw some outrageous fee on because that's their way of saying no, or that's their way of only taking it if somebody's going to pay a ton for it. So there are things, there are advantages that you have as a small company that makes you agile and makes you willing and able to do things that don't scale, but you can do right now. So, like it's talking about big and bright inflatables and talking about my time, me and Joe have had a lot of conversations where we're talking about, man, it's so good that we're able to sit down with a new customer and literally give them 2 hours and show them how to roll the slides and show them how to do all of these things. And we're able to really get those customers in to become true, brand ambassadors for big and bright inflatables because we've taken that time. But there's going to become a point where like that's just not going to be realistic anymore. So I don't know where you are, but if you're still in that startup stage, go ahead and do that extra thing for customers right now, knowing you won't be able to forever, but use that as your stepping stone to really get people, into your business long term. And I already said this a few times, but small companies can pivot. They can be agile. They can say yes to different things. There's something in a small business that allows them to really be flexible and move faster for the customer's attention. So I'm kind of wrapping it up here, and I do think that we are going to, I believe that this is the time I'm going to get to actually take you over and show you my inflatables. So I hope you guys are ready for a small field trip. But I hope I said something that stuck with you, but I believe that armed with these advantages of being able to be flexible, agile, to move quickly, that you can bury your personal insecurities, you can believe in yourself, you can believe in your business, and you can start compounding your interest to see massive amounts of returns daily moving forward, and I encourage you to do so. And that's what I have today. So, all right. If there are any questions, I will take them, and then Mike or whoever's in charge, are we just doing field trip next door? Field trip. Okay. Any questions before we field trip? Yes. We did warm and cold calls. Yes, absolutely. Cold calls was part of that. But, when you're an industrial supply company in a small market, often those calls, in my opinion, do become warm because people kind of know who you are and what you do. But you are still, yes, absolutely. We were asking them to go and find new contacts daily at existing customers and customers that we don't have. How do I see that? The question is, how do I see that relatable in the party rental business? And specifically, I think it is relatable to these things. One thing when I was in the party rental business is daycares. Daycares like to do field days, right? But they need, somebody could be making cold calls on daycares, have maybe like a little presentation, maybe put a little video together, maybe have a flyer, go in there and actually knock on daycares, get in front of their directors and potentially get some of that. So I know you're now full-time, right? And so in my opinion, the difference between kind of the weekend warriors and the full-time business is not necessarily the weekends, it's the weekdays, okay? So really, the weekdays in an inflatable business are what separates. Like on a Saturday, almost anybody, in Texas at least, on Saturday, almost anybody with a water slide is going to rent it no matter who you are. So it doesn't make you special that you rented all your water slides on a Saturday, okay? Sundays become a little bit more special, somewhat, but when you're renting the Monday through Friday, that's really when you can make return on your money. And that's, in my mind, what separates kind of the small business from the legitimate business. Hopefully you guys agree with that. So one way to fill that is daycares during the summer. Maybe if you have toddler items, you can probably even do those even through the winter. You're in Florida, so probably year round. So daycares is one. Another is getting in front of like PTOs, getting in front of school boards, getting in front of anybody in a school. That is kind of a cold call type of situation where, these techniques can take place. Churches, youth groups, fundraisers, all of these things are where they probably don't even know that they need these things, or if they do know that they need them, they're already renting with somebody else. But you knock on their door and you say, hey, I know you guys do a fall festival every year. And then you go into a sales pitch and you kind of explain yourself and why. Those are the kind of the areas that I'm thinking of. You can also probably, depending on your inventory level, I would imagine, Danny may be able to speak to this. There are actually maybe some church camps in your area that do long, full weekday events or week events. I would also think that there's probably some way to work it into some corporate events and things like that. If you could find the right people to get in front of and put together some sort of package or some sort of deal for them to do team building events. When I was a district manager at Fastenal, I would have at least two, depending on the year, to up to four corporate events, and I would always be looking for something to do team building. And if somebody had walked up to me and said, I don't know, we're going to do this, and a mechanical bull, like I probably would have, all right, let's do it. Here's my card. Let's go. So I do think that there's absolutely anywhere from daycares, churches, schools, day camps, and corporate events. Those are all things that I think the average company is just waiting for the website to bring, which it probably won't. Do you agree? Danny seems like he has something to say.
I just want to give you guys a quick free tip. Does anyone know Eventbrite? Eventbrite?
Eventbrite.
Okay. Yes. Eventbrite. Go to Eventbrite. There's a search option. Just type in Bouncehouse, Carnival, Festival, Kids, and press enter. It'll actually give you events that are happening, churches are hosting or whatever in the coming months, and cold call them. And hey, I noticed you're having an event on this date. You're gonna have bounce houses and stuff. Have you already hired someone to do this? Cold call Eventbrite events. They usually book a month to a month and a half in advance. And they usually post those events 3 to 4 months in advance. So it's a free tip for you guys. That helped me out a lot as I was growing. So just take it. Or you type in the search bar? In the search bar, you type anything related to whatever you have. Bounce house, kids, festival, carnival, whatever it is.
Hope I answered that question, and that Eventbrite's great knowledge. Thank you, Danny. Yeah. You know, listen, desperation is a powerful motivator. Some of your guys' day jobs is keeping you from being desperate in this business. If you were I'm not telling you to quit your job. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, Matt is telling you that, but I am not. What I'm telling you is that if your kids' food depended upon you renting more bounce houses this weekend, you would find a way to rent more bounce houses this weekend. All right? And I am all for IO. I am all for Marketing Ninja. Like, do these things. But take some responsibility also. You know, don't 100% rely on whatever service you have, your Google ads, your Facebook ads, to drive your whole business. Find a way to do it in person, okay? Find a way to do it through a flyer. I have out of time. All right. I told you I could go way too long. If everybody will follow me next door, I'll make that as fast as possible.